Okay, so today we're going to be talking about the sacral chakra. So the sacral chakra is 2 inches right below the belly button, and it's the color orange. So the sacral chakra is our sexual chakra, right? So like we have our testes, our ovaries, all our sexual reproductive organs are all in that area. So it's, that hip area right below the belly button. The element for this one is actually water. So this is where we get our fluidity from. Also remember we're like 75% water, so like we want to keep that movement going. Right? The motion of the ocean is what I like to say for this chakra as I bounce on my ball here. Because it really is what gives us, that movement, right? From our hips, we can kind of flow everywhere from there. So the color is orange, which I also like to think of, oranges, they're also full of juice, right? So it's kind of appropriate that orange is also the color. And obviously an amazing essential oil to use in that area will be orange, or any other citrus, really, tangerine, grapefruit. I like to use a blend called Inner Child, and it has a lot of orange scents to it. Has Nairobi in it, which is actually the flower petals. I believe it's the flower petals. I don't know, we have a lot of different oils that come from an orange, but I believe that one's actually from the flower blossom. And then jasmine and rose are also really good ones, which makes sense because rose, it's that love, right? And that those are our sexual reproductive organs in that area. So one thing I want to talk about when we talk about the sacral chakra is that is where we hold a lot of trauma, right? In the hips, a lot of women may feel like they have big hips or whatever, and that could be because they're actually holding a lot of trauma there. If you've ever been sexually abused at any age, you tend to hold that trauma there. I was sexually assaulted, and so I held all of that trauma there. Now, one thing that I want to kind of let people know is I also want to talk about TRE, which is trauma release, which is shaking, right? And what that is it's your body allowing you to get rid of a lot of negative energy and things you may be holding on to, right? When we shiver, we're shivering because we're trying to warm up, but we're also our body's doing something, right? And the worst thing you can actually do is stop somebody from shaking. So with shaking, and I didn't know that at first. As an instinct, it's to go stop that person from shaking. But if you ever know somebody that has epilepsy or has ever, just started shaking, that is their body's way of actually healing and allowing them to get through what they need to go through. If you've ever experienced somebody that has epilepsy and they're having an episode, right? You hold them. You don't squeeze them so it stops. You just hold them gently so that, they're not endangering themselves. They're not kicking anything that could possibly fall on them. They say, watch their mouth because if they're shaking, you don't want them to bite their tongue type deal. But you just hold them and you allow their body to do what they need to do, right? And that goes throughout life. You really want to hold people, but you don't want to stop that shaking because that's actually contaminating the shake and your body needs to release that. So I'm going to share a story with you about the sacral chakra and how I have had a personal experience about shaking and releasing the trauma that I held in the sacral chakra. So when you give birth, your child actually goes through your chakras, right? So they're in their solar plex and they go through the sacral chakra and through the root chakra. Even if you've had, the other way. If you're not doing it natural, but they actually have to take out the baby, I'm totally drawing a blank on what that's called. Anyways, that is the same thing. Your body will still experience all of these things because, again, you're going through that chakra, and that the energies are still there, right? So with me, I wanted to, since I had experienced trauma there before, I wanted to make sure that this trauma wasn't going to come out and affect my family, affect on me being a new mom, and affect on how I was going to be a wife to my husband, right? I didn't know what this was going to bring out when I gave birth. And so I had learned about shaking and things and allowing your body just to do what it needs to do, right? And so actually I did a lot of aroma yoga before to balance my chakras so that when I did give birth, this wouldn't affect my relationship with whatever trauma it might have brought up, right? And so when after I gave birth, about 20 minutes after I had my son, I began to shake. And, it was like I'm holding him and I'm just shaking like crazy. And, everybody was kind of like freaking out and they're like, "Are you cold? What do you need?" And I was just like, at that point, I knew about shaking and that my body needed to do that. And so I just held my son and I continued to shake and I just let everybody know, like, no, we're fine. We're good. My body needs to do this. This is my body's working through that trauma that I was bringing up, right? And it allowed me to let it go, right? And so part of that 10 pounds, that I lost of negative energy was a lot of that trauma that's where I was holding it, right? Because I had been assaulted, and that's where I held it, right? And so I just want people to know that, like, if you are going to have a baby, like if you're pregnant now, or maybe you're listening to this and you're a man and your wife or your sister or your girlfriend is about to have a baby, let them know that, like, after birth and after them shaking, that is okay. That is part of what your body's supposed to do. I actually had a friend who, C-section, that's what I was looking for earlier. She had a C-section and she shook after they had the C-section, and she was shaking, and the doctors and things like that at the time, this was several years before she knew about shaking, they tied her down because they were freaking out, and they were like, no, like, I don't know what's going on, like, and so they actually tied her down, and that actually made the situation worse because now she's holding on that trauma from that of being held down, but she held on that all that energy and things that her body was trying to get rid of. And she, I told her the story about my giving birth to my son, and she was like, I really wish I would have known that back then because my body was trying to do what it needed to do, and they didn't allow my body to do that, right? And now she's kind of traumatized from that. And so just letting pregnant women know that if you do shake after having your child, like, it's okay. It's actually a beautiful thing because your body is getting rid of some stuff that you may be holding on to that you didn't realize you were holding on to, right? It could be trauma, but it's also healing itself. There's different things going on, right? You just had a baby, right? Like, there's a whole lot of things. You were carrying this child for 9+ months, or maybe a little less, and so it's really important for you guys to understand that it's okay to shake, and just to, like, kind of let the doctors know, like, hey, you know what, I got this, it's good, like, this is my body doing what it's supposed to do, because unfortunately, we don't allow our bodies to shake like it's supposed to because we're scared of it, and it seems like that's not okay, but that's exactly what your body should be doing, right? It's kind of like getting rid of that adrenaline and allowing your body to heal. And so when you shake, that it's actually like this beautiful gift that your body's doing because it's like cleansing your system. So that's my experience with how I cleared my sacral chakra, and yeah, it really did allow me to let go of so much stuff that I was holding on there. And so in my book that I wrote, Breathing Through the Chakras with the Help of Essential Oils, I kind of included, you know, a little bit of the water chakra and the fluidity in the passage, because I want your kids to know that, like, as they go through life, like, holding on to these things that are unnecessary, you know, there's some things that we take to heart as kids because we don't know better, remember? And so in this book, it allows them to learn about nature, the elements, the different colors, but also, like, kind of reminds them, like, hey, this is what this area in your body is good for. So you don't need to hold things in there that you don't need to hold in there, right? So with that, I'm going to read the passage that I wrote in my book on the Sacral Chakra. So this is the picture. It's a beautiful orange tree. And again, the essential oil that is really good for this chakra is the orange chakra, which is easy to remember since it's also the color. So you would breathe in the scent and then read them the passage. As you breathe in the scent, know that the sacral chakra is as orange as the orange to which you eat, filled with juice as we are filled with water, the water that allows us to be free and fluid. May you prosper in creativity, fluidity, and relationships throughout your life. So that is the sacral chakra. That is probably my favorite chakra, just because I'm not so much like an ocean person, but I love being in the water. I love being able to move. So throughout life, you're born with chakras, right, based on your zodiac sign, but you also gravitate through certain chakras throughout life, and I definitely gravitate more towards the water chakra. Don't tell the fire chakra, because that's what I was born with. But for all of my water chakras that are not sure if you're a true water chakra, if that's what you were born with, or maybe that's just your secondary. So my water chakras are going to be, of course, Pisces. And then we have Scorpio and Cancer. So those are my water chakras out there. So if those are your birth zodiacs, that's what chakra you are. So if you guys want to know a little bit more about my book, so I wrote it for children. It's amazing for children. I also love reading it through in Savasana for my Roma Yoga clients. They love it. But it's an amazing book to really connect that sense and memorization for children, and just kind of bring them back to these passages that can really help them throughout life and just allow them to let go of things. So right now we have a Kickstarter fundraiser. It ends May 30th, and this is to help us get the book self-published, because that's really the easiest way that I found to get a book published. So if you are interested, I will put the Kickstarter page underneath, and I appreciate everybody that shares and that supports it, and I hope you guys have a great day, and I look forward to teaching you about the solar plex. I'm not sure if it's going to be tomorrow or if we're going to do it on Friday, but solar plex will be later on this week. Have a great day, guys.